The night sky over the human colony was calm, filled with stars and the faint glow of distant moons. The colony was used to silence after long days of work, but tonight the silence felt heavier, as if the sky itself was holding a secret. At first, it was only a shadow, a dark shape moving across the stars. The children playing outside stopped and pointed upward. Their parents came running, thinking it was just another cargo ship. But as the shadow grew larger, fear began to spread. This was no ordinary ship. Within minutes, alarms echoed across the colony. Red lights flashed, soldiers rushed into their armored suits, and people hid inside their homes. The ground trembled as the enormous alien ship slowed its descent. It was massive, bigger than any human craft. Its surface was black metal with glowing lines of blue that pulsed like veins. The ship looked alive. David stood among the crowd near the command post. He was not a soldier, not a leader. He was just an engineer who repaired machines and water systems. Yet his eyes were fixed on the sky. His heart beat fast, but not only from fear. Somewhere inside, he felt curiosity. He whispered to himself, "Why here? Why now?" The colony commander shouted orders. "All weapons ready. Prepare to fire if it makes one wrong move." Soldiers formed lines. Rifles pointed toward the sky. Tanks rolled forward. The tension was so strong that even breathing felt dangerous. Finally, the alien ship landed outside the colony walls. The ground shook like an earthquake. Dust and smoke rose, and the air smelled of burning metal. For a long moment, nothing happened. The silence was louder than the alarms. Every eye was locked on the giant ship. Then, a door began to open. The sound was deep and slow, metal grinding against metal. A blinding light poured out, casting long shadows from the light. A figure stepped forward. It was tall, impossibly tall, an 8-foot alien. Its body was covered in silver armor that looked grown, not built. The helmet shone under the moon, and two glowing eyes pierced the darkness. Its arms were long, its fingers sharp like claws, but its movements were calm, deliberate. Gasps spread through the humans, some whispered prayers. Others shouted warnings. Soldiers' hands shook on their weapons, but none fired. The alien stood on the soil. Looking at them, its chest rose and fell, almost like a human breathing. David felt his stomach tighten. He should have been afraid. But there was something else too. The alien was terrifying, yes, but also lonely. It did not raise a weapon. It did not attack. It simply looked at the humans. The commander's voice thundered, "Hold position. Do not move closer. Do not engage until I give the order." His eyes were full of fear, and his hands trembled on the controls. The alien then did something unexpected. Slowly, it lifted its arm, not an attack, but in a gesture. It stretched its hand forward, palm open, almost like greeting. Confusion broke among the soldiers. Was this a trick? Was it asking for peace? No one knew. The humans had trained for war, not for moments like this. David's heart pounded in his chest. He looked at the alien's hand, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Something inside him whispered, "If no one tries, nothing will change." He remembered stories of explorers, of brave humans who once stepped into the unknown. If they could, why not him? The alien stood silent, waiting, its glowing eyes fixed on the humans, on the weapons pointed at its chest. For a moment, time itself seemed frozen. And then David did what no one else dared. He stepped forward, past the soldiers. His boots crunched on the gravel, the sound echoing in the night. Gasps erupted behind him. Soldiers shouted, "Stop! Get back!" The commander screamed, "Are you insane?" But David did not stop. The alien tilted its head, watching this one human who dared to move. Its eyes followed his every step, its massive figure still, like a statue of metal and light. David's heart hammered against his ribs. His mouth was dry. His legs wanted to shake, but he forced them steady. He walked until he was only a few steps away from the towering alien. He looked up, craning his neck. The alien was huge, larger than any human he had ever seen. The alien lowered its head slightly. Its glowing eyes softened. David raised his hand slowly, copying the alien's gesture. His fingers trembled, but he kept moving. For a moment, human and alien stood facing each other, two different worlds. One fragile moment. Everyone held their breath. Soldiers' fingers tightened on their triggers. Mothers inside the colony covered their children's eyes. Then it happened. David's hand touched the alien's massive palm. Warmth spread through his skin. Not cold, not hostile, but strangely comforting. The alien made a sound, low and deep. Not words, but something like a heartbeat echo. The colony froze. History was being written. And in that single moment, David became the only human brave enough to reach out. The air was heavy after David touched the alien's hand. Soldiers stood frozen, not sure if they should shoot or wait. The commander's voice cracked as he barked. "Stand down. Hold your fire." But even he sounded uncertain. No one in the colony had ever seen such a moment before. A single man standing before an 8-foot being, hand to hand. The alien's glowing eyes blinked slowly, like it was studying David's face. Then it pulled back its hand, not in anger, but with calm. It pointed to its own chest, tapping the armor twice. A faint hum came from the alien's suit, lights running across it like rivers of blue energy. Then the alien raised its other hand and pointed toward the sky. The stars above reflected in its metallic armor. David followed the motion. He looked up, then back at the alien. He did the same thing, touching his chest and pointing upward. Gasps spread through the crowd. The alien's glowing eyes brightened. A deep, vibrating sound came from its chest, almost like approval. But the soldiers did not relax. Some whispered, "It's a trick." Others muttered, "It's calling more ships." Fear was stronger than wonder for them. Their weapons still aimed at the alien, fingers twitching on triggers. The alien looked at all the humans standing behind David. It tilted its head, almost like it understood their fear. Then it bent its knees slightly, lowering its tall body closer to David's height. It moved slowly, carefully, making no sudden threats. David felt his throat tighten. He took a deep breath and stepped even closer. His boots scraped on the gravel. His voice trembled, but he forced himself to speak. I am not your enemy." The alien stared at him, and for a long moment, there was only silence. Then the alien made a strange motion with its fingers, drawing a glowing pattern in the air. A hologram flickered to life. A shape of a ship appeared, broken and burning, followed by a planet covered in smoke, explosions tearing its surface apart. People gasped. The hologram showed cities collapsing, towers falling, and beings running in panic. The alien tapped the burning ship, then touched its chest again. The meaning was clear. Its ship was damaged. It needed help. The commander shook his head. His voice was harsh. "No, this is deception. Do not believe it." His eyes burned with suspicion, but David could see the truth in the alien's trembling hands, in its broken armor that sparked with damaged circuits. "Commander," David said, turning to face him, "look at it. It could have attacked already, but hasn't. It is asking for help, not war." The commander's jaw tightened. He did not answer. The alien's hologram shifted again, showing a group of beings, smaller aliens, weak and thin, trapped inside broken pods. Their faces were pale, their movements slow. The tall alien placed its hand over the image, then on its own chest. Then it extended its hand toward David again. David's chest tightened. He understood it was not alone. It had others, maybe family, maybe survivors, that needed saving. The crowd whispered in fear and confusion. What if it's a trap? What if it brings more of them? What if we die? Their words buzzed like insects in the air, filling the night with panic. David turned back to the alien. His hand trembled, but he forced it steady. Slowly, he reached out again. His fingers brushed the alien's palm, and the hologram shifted to show a bright light. Two figures, human and alien, standing together side by side. Gasps turned into silence. The meaning was too clear. This being was trying to show peace, trying to show unity. But before the humans could decide, the alien staggered slightly. Its armor flickered, the blue lines dimming. A deep sound came from its chest, almost like pain. David instinctively reached forward, steadying its massive arm. "It's weak," he said. "It doesn't have much time." The commander raised his hand, still torn between fear and logic. "Stand back, David. You don't know what you're doing." David clenched his fists. His voice was firm now, louder than before. "If we turn away now, We may start a war that never had to happen. We have to try. The alien looked at him, its glowing eyes softening. It made a single sound, broken, almost human. Friend? The entire colony fell silent. Soldiers stared in disbelief. Mothers holding their children wept quietly, and David realized he had just taken the first step into something greater than himself. The night had grown colder, but no one noticed. All eyes were fixed on the 8-foot alien and the lone human who stood before it. The words still echoed in the air. Friend. It was broken, rough, but it was enough to shake the hearts of every listener. David felt the weight of silence pressing down on him. He looked at the alien, then at the soldiers still pointing their weapons, and then back again. It's trying, he whispered, his voice carried across the tense night. It's trying to speak our language. The alien lowered itself further, one knee almost touching the ground. Its glowing eyes dimmed and brightened in rhythm. It raised a long finger and drew another shape in the air. The hologram returned, but this time it showed symbols, lines, circles, and glowing patterns. The alien pressed its chest and pointed to the symbols, then extended its hand toward David once more. David stared, his mind raced. He did not understand the alien language, but he felt the intent. It was showing him words, or maybe names. Maybe this was how it wanted to teach. Slowly, carefully, David copied one of the glowing shapes in the air with his own hand. The alien's eyes flashed brighter. It made a low sound, almost like approval. Soldiers behind David gasped. Some muttered, "He's communicating with it." Others whispered, "This is madness." The commander's jaw tightened. He shouted, "Enough! Step away, David. We cannot risk this, it's dangerous." But David ignored him. His heart beat fast. He looked into the alien's glowing eyes, and for the first time, he saw something he had not expected. Fear. This towering creature, this being that looked like a warrior of metal and light, was afraid. The alien tapped its chest again, harder this time. Its voice cracked with a sound that was not human, but full of pain. Then it pointed at the hologram again, showing the burning planet, the broken ship, and the trapped survivors. Its hand shook as it held the image. David felt his chest tighten. He stepped forward until he was directly under the shadow of the giant being. Slowly, he raised his hand again and touched the alien's arm. "You are not alone," he said softly. The alien turned its head slightly. Its eyes flickered. It pressed its massive hand over David's much smaller one. The warmth pulsed again through the air. A strange calm spread over the colony. But not everyone felt peace. Among the soldiers, whispers of rebellion spread. "We can't trust it. What if it kills us all? What if it brings more?" The fear inside them was stronger than the hope in David's words. Suddenly, one soldier broke. He raised his weapon and fired a shot in the air. The sound exploded like thunder. The crowd screamed. Mothers pulled their children close. Soldiers shifted their rifles, aiming at the alien. The alien reacted instantly. Its eyes flared bright, and its armor rippled with light. Energy shields flickered across its body, protecting it. Its head snapped toward the soldiers, its glowing eyes blazing. "Stop!" David shouted, his voice cracked but full of desperation. He ran forward and placed himself between the alien and the humans, his arms spread wide. "Don't shoot. It hasn't hurt anyone." The alien froze, its massive body trembling. Its glowing shields flickered again and then vanished, leaving it vulnerable. It looked down at David, and for a moment, the world stood still. David turned to the commander, his voice strong now. "Look at it. It could have crushed me. It could have killed us all, but it didn't. It stopped because it doesn't want war." The commander's lips pressed into a thin line. His eyes darted between the alien and the trembling colonists. His voice dropped low, full of suspicion. "And what if you are wrong? What if this is only the beginning?" David didn't answer. He turned back to the alien. "If you want peace, show them. Show them something only a friend would show." The alien's chest glowed, and the hologram shifted again. This time, instead of war, instead of destruction, it showed something else. It showed children. Small aliens running in fields of silver grass under a glowing blue sun. Families gathering around fires. Laughter echoing. Hands reaching out, not for weapons, but for embraces. Gasps spread through the humans. Some lowered their weapons slightly. The image was not of war. It was of home. It was of life before the destruction. The alien's deep voice rumbled again, broken but clear enough for all to hear. Home. Lost. David felt his eyes sting. He looked at the soldiers, at the commander, at the frightened families watching from the colony walls. Do you see? It has lost everything. It is not here to conquer. It is here because it needs us just as much as we may need it. The alien lowered its head, its glowing eyes dimmed. And for the first time, it looked tired. David understood in that moment. This being was not a monster. It was a survivor. The crowd fell silent. The choice lay heavy in the air. Fear or trust, war or peace. And as David stood before the alien, he knew this was only the beginning. The colony had never been this silent before. The alien stood like a giant statue of light and metal, its head bowed, its armor cracked and glowing faintly beside it. David stood tall. Though his hands trembled, he had become a bridge between two worlds, but no one knew if that bridge would hold or collapse. The commander's voice broke the silence. Soldiers, hold your positions. His eyes stayed fixed on the alien, but his voice betrayed his fear. One wrong move, and we end this. Weapons remained raised, but hesitation filled the air. David looked back at the crowd. His voice carried with surprising strength. If it wanted war, we would already be dead. Look at it. It is not here to fight. It is here to ask for help. The alien lifted its massive hand and touched the glowing lines on its chest. A low hum spread from its armor, and the hologram flickered alive again. This time it showed not only the broken ship, but something deeper inside. Rows of chambers, pods glowing with faint blue light. Inside them lay smaller figures, weak and still. Gasps spread among the humans. There are more, someone whispered. Mothers clutched their children tighter. Soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The alien pointed to the pods, then pressed its hand against its chest. Its glowing eyes dimmed as if begging. The meaning was clear. There were survivors aboard its ship, fragile and near death. David stepped forward. It has others. It has family, or maybe children. We cannot just let them die. But fear was stronger than compassion for many. One soldier muttered, "What if they're soldiers? What if they're an army waiting to wake up?" Another said, "What if this is the beginning of an invasion?" The commander narrowed his eyes. "You see tricks, David. I see traps." His words were sharp, but his hands shook as he gripped his weapon tighter. David clenched his fists. His voice grew louder. "We cannot let fear blind us. We talk about being human, about being better. Now is the time to prove it." He turned to the alien again, pointing at the hologram, then to himself, then back to the colony. "We help," he said, repeating the word with determination. The alien watched him closely. Its eyes flickered and then brightened with a new glow. It repeated in broken sound, "Hilpi." The crowd murmured in shock. The moment was powerful, but fragile, and it was broken quickly. A group of soldiers at the edge of the formation whispered to each other, their faces twisted with suspicion. One of them raised his rifle, aiming at the hologram. "We cannot risk this," he muttered. David's eyes widened. "No," he shouted, running forward. But before the soldier could fire, the alien moved. In one swift motion, it raised its arm, and a blue shield of light shimmered into existence. The bullet fired, but it bounced off the shield, sparking harmlessly to the ground. The crowd screamed. Soldiers raised weapons again. Tension exploded like fire. The commander shouted, "Stand down. Hold fire." His voice shook with anger and fear. David turned, his chest heaving. "Do you see? It defended itself, but it didn't attack. It is protecting, not killing." The alien lowered its shield slowly, letting it fade. Its glowing eyes locked on David. It raised its hand again, this time pointing at David, then at the humans, then at itself. Finally, it placed both hands together, palm to palm. David swallowed hard. He understood. It was asking for trust. He raised his own hands and copied the gesture, his voice steady. "We stand together." The alien tilted its head, and for the first time, its deep voice formed two clear words, broken but strong. "Uman, friend." The crowd gasped again. This was no monster. This was no mindless creature. This was a being reaching across the gulf of fear. But the commander was still torn. He lowered his weapon slightly, his voice heavy. Even if I believe, even if this is true, the decision is not only mine. The council must decide. And until then, this being stays outside the walls. David turned sharply. If we wait, its people may die. The ship is broken. They need help now, not tomorrow. The alien's head bowed. Its glowing eyes dimmed, and its armor flickered weakly. It sank to one knee, exhausted, its massive hand pressed against the ground as if it no longer had the strength to stand tall. David rushed forward, steadying its arm. His voice cracked but firm. We can't let it fall. If we show mercy now, we can change everything. The crowd stood in silence, torn between fear and compassion. The commander's lips pressed thin. His heart battled against his orders. And in that moment, as the alien knelt and David stood beside it, one truth became clear. Fear was breaking, but so was time. The alien knelt on the cold ground, its body trembling, its glowing armor dimmed like fading embers. The human stared in silence. Torn between fear and wonder, David stayed close, one hand resting on the giant's arm. He could feel the faint vibration beneath the metal plates, a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. The commander paced behind the soldiers, his face unreadable. We cannot act blindly, he muttered. We wait for the council. But his words carried little weight. The crowd was restless. Whispers grew louder. Some voices spoke of compassion, others of danger. The alien slowly lifted its head. Its glowing eyes flickered weakly. It raised one hand and tapped its chest again. The hologram sparked back to life, dim and unstable. This time the image was different. Not the burning planet, not the pods. Instead, it showed a star chart, bright points of light connected by glowing lines. At the center was a world shining blue. David squinted. What is this? The alien pointed to the glowing world, then to itself. Its voice rumbled, broken but clear enough to send shivers down the spines of everyone watching. Home. Lost. The image shifted again, showing a fleet of ships, but not like the alien's vessel. These were massive, armed, and terrifying. They rained fire on the alien's planet, reducing it to ash. The hologram shook with explosions, and the cries of the people being destroyed echoed faintly through the air. Gasps erupted. Some colonists covered their mouths. Soldiers shifted uneasily. The alien pressed its hand harder against its chest, then pointed at the enemy's ships. Its voice cracked. They come. David's blood ran cold. He turned sharply to the commander. It's warning us. Do you understand? Those who destroyed its world, they're coming here. The commander's eyes narrowed. And why should we believe this? Perhaps it wants to frighten us. Perhaps it prepares us for a trap. But David shook his head. His voice burned with conviction. Look at it. Does this look like a conqueror? It is broken. It is desperate. It didn't come to destroy. It came to warn. The alien lowered its hand and pressed both palms against the ground, its glowing eyes fixed on David. Then slowly, it made a shape in the dirt with one long finger, a circle, then a smaller circle inside, then a line connecting outward. David watched, realizing it was drawing their colony. The alien tapped the small circle, then the glowing star chart still hovering above them. Then it whispered one word again, danger. The meaning was too clear, too terrifying. The crowd broke into shouts. It's telling the truth. We're next. It wants to use us. Fear and panic rippled like a wave. Soldiers raised weapons again, uncertain where to point them, at the alien or at the sky. David raised his arms, shouting above the noise, listen to it. If we do nothing, we will be destroyed just as its people were. The alien turned toward him, its massive hand trembling as it reached out. This time it did not ask for a handshake. Instead, it pressed its clawed fingers against David's chest gently. A pulse of warmth spread through him, and the hologram shifted once more. It showed a human figure standing beside an alien, shoulder to shoulder. Together they faced the fleet of enemy ships. Their combined lights pushed back the darkness. The alien's deep voice cracked out a single word, louder, stronger than before. Together, the crowd went silent. The hologram faded, leaving only the soft hum of the alien's armor. David swallowed hard. His heart pounded in his chest. He turned to the commander and the soldiers. Do you not see? It is not just asking for help. It is offering a warning. It is giving us a choice. We can trust it and stand together, or we can let fear destroy us before the real enemy arrives. The commander's lips pressed thin. His eyes flickered with doubt, but also with something else. Fear not of the alien, but of what might be coming. The alien staggered suddenly, its massive frame almost collapsing. David caught its arm, shouting, "It's weak. It won't survive much longer without help." The commander hesitated, torn between orders and instinct. The crowd's voices rose again, louder this time. "Help it, save them, we need allies." The alien looked down at David one final time, its glowing eyes dimmed but filled with something human could finally recognize: hope. And with a trembling voice, it whispered again, "Friend." The colony did not sleep that night. Families stayed behind walls. Soldiers stood ready with weapons. And the alien remained outside the gates, its body weak, its glowing armor flickering like a dying flame. David sat near it, refusing to leave. His presence was the only sign of peace between two worlds that stood on the edge of fear. The commander had called the council. They argued through the night, voices raised behind closed doors. Some wanted to destroy the alien ship before more could arrive. Others wanted to listen, to take the warning seriously. The debate went in circles, but one thing was clear. Time was running out. Outside, the alien stirred. Its deep eyes flickered and settled on David. It tapped its chest weakly, then pointed to the sky. "They come," it whispered again. The words were broken, but the fear in its voice was not. David clenched his fists. His heart burned. He knew the truth. The alien had risked everything to reach them, yet his own people doubted. But danger was closer than anyone realized. A group of soldiers, led by Lieutenant Harrow, gathered near the colony's weapons storage, their faces twisted with anger and fear. "We can't wait for the council," Harrow muttered. "That thing is a threat, and its ship is a danger. If we don't act first, we may never get the chance." They carried explosives, heavy packs meant to destroy the alien vessel. Their plan was simple: sneak to the landing site and end this before dawn. David sensed something wrong. He left the alien's side for a moment, walking the perimeter. That was when he saw them, moving in the shadows. Their weapons glinted in the faint light. His blood ran cold. "No," he whispered, then louder he shouted, "Stop! What are you doing?" The soldiers froze, but Harrow stepped forward, his voice sharp. "We're saving this colony. You're blind, David. You let it trick you, but we won't." David spread his arms wide, blocking the path. His voice shook but carried across the night. "You don't understand. If you destroy its ship, you destroy the only proof of what's coming. You destroy the survivors inside. You destroy our only chance at peace." Harrow's eyes blazed with fury. "Peace? With monsters? Open your eyes. It's the same as all the stories. Aliens come, humans die. I won't let it happen." The alien had risen slowly behind David, its massive shadow stretching across the ground. Its eyes glowed faintly. Its voice cracked through the night. "No war." The soldiers flinched, their fingers tightening on weapons. David raised his voice desperately. "Look at it. It hasn't killed us. It hasn't fought us. It's begging for trust. Don't let fear turn us into the monsters we think we fight." But Harrow snarled and motioned his men forward. "Stand aside, David, or you go down with it." For a heartbeat, the colony's future hung in silence. Then David made his choice. He stepped closer to the alien, standing directly before it, his arms spread wide. "If you want to kill it, you'll have to kill me first." The crowd that had gathered gasped. Whispers spread. Mothers cried. Soldiers wavered. The commander himself appeared at the gate, his face pale at the sight. Harrow's hands shook with rage. His finger hovered on the trigger, but before he could fire, the alien moved. Not to attack, but to protect. Its massive arms swept around David, shielding him with its glowing armor. A hum filled the air, a weak shield forming once more. The sight froze everyone. Even Harrow faltered, His weapon lowered slightly as his eyes locked on David. Why? Why risk your life for it? David's voice cracked, but his words were strong. Because sometimes, one step of trust is stronger than 100 steps of fear. The alien's glowing eyes met his, and in a voice clearer than before, it spoke again, "Man, friend." The words broke the tension like a blade. The crowd gasped. Soldiers lowered their weapons slowly. Even Harrow staggered back, his anger shaken by the raw truth in those words. The commander stepped forward, his voice heavy. "Enough. There will be no more fighting. If this being is warning us, then we must listen. If David is willing to risk his life for it, then perhaps so should we." The alien's head bowed low, its massive body trembling, yet its eyes glowed brighter now, no longer dim with fear, but shining with hope. And in that fragile dawn, with humans and alien standing together against their own doubt, the first bond of true trust was forged. But in the skies above, hidden from all but the stars, something stirred, something vast, dark, and watching. The real test had only begun. The first light of dawn spread across the colony, soft gold washing over the metal walls and silent faces. The alien knelt weakly at the edge of the landing site, its body heavy with exhaustion. Around it stood the people of the colony, some still afraid, some still uncertain, but none able to ignore what they had witnessed. David stood tall at its side, his clothes covered in dust, his eyes burning with determination. He had been the first to step forward, the first to touch its hand, and now he was the one holding the fragile line between war and peace. The commander's voice carried across the gathering. "The council has heard enough," he said. His tone was steady, though his eyes betrayed the weight of the night. "We will not destroy its ship. We will not attack." He turned to David, his jaw tightening. "But if you are wrong, the blame is yours." David nodded without fear. "Then let it be mine." The alien's glowing eyes flickered. It raised its hand slowly, pressing it against its chest. Its deep voice broke the silence. "Together." The word was clumsy, but the meaning was clear. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Families stepped forward cautiously. Children peeked from behind their parents. The fear had not vanished, but something new had taken root. Curiosity. David stepped closer to the alien ship. The hull was cracked and humming with faint light. Through the hologram, the pods of survivors could still be seen, flickering weakly. "We need to help them," David said. His voice was steady. "If we don't, they will die before nightfall." The commander hesitated, but then gave a sharp nod. "Engineers, medics, prepare. You will assist, but keep guards ready. If anything goes wrong, we end it." For the first time since its arrival, the alien's shoulders relaxed. It lowered its head toward David, a gesture of respect that no one could mistake. Hours passed. Humans worked beside the alien, connecting power cells, repairing conduits, stabilizing the failing pods. The alien guided them with hand gestures and faint sounds, its knowledge blending with human skill. Slowly, one pod flickered back to full light. Then another. Inside, small alien figures stirred, fragile but alive. Gasps spread through the humans watching. "They're children," someone whispered. The survivors were not warriors, not an army. They were families. The truth broke through the last barrier of doubt. The alien's voice rumbled again, low but steady. "Thank you." David wiped the sweat from his brow. His heart swelled. He turned to the crowd. "Do you see? We are not alone. We don't need to be enemies. We can be more." But as hope grew, shadows moved above. High in the sky, distant flashes glimmered like stars. David noticed first. His stomach dropped. "Commander, look." The commander raised his scope. His face paled. "Ships," he whispered. "They're not human." The alien looked up too. Its glowing eyes narrowed. Its voice shook with urgency. "They come." The enemy fleet had arrived. Fear spread instantly. Soldiers shouted. Families screamed. The colony alarms wailed. The enemy ships cut across the sky like blades of fire. But the alien stood tall again, its strength renewed by hope and trust. It pointed to the sky, then to the humans beside it. Then it spread its arms wide, its voice echoing across the colony. "Together!" David felt fire in his chest. He turned to the commander, to the soldiers, to the frightened people. We have a choice now. We can fight alone and die, or we can fight together and live. The commander stared at him for a long, heavy moment. Then he gave a single nod. Prepare all defenses, we stand with it. Cheers erupted from some, cries of fear from others. But there was no turning back. The humans and the alien were bound now by something greater than fear. Hope. The alien's armor glowed brighter, its eyes burning like stars. It reached out one massive hand, and David placed his smaller hand against it. The crowd watched as human and alien stood side by side, united. The enemy fleet broke through the clouds, thunder shaking the ground. The war was coming, but this time they would not face it alone. And as the first shadow of the enemy ship covered the colony, David whispered words that would be remembered for generations. Sometimes, one brave step can change the destiny of two worlds.